8cx. Somebody dug up. I don't know if it was you or not. Who dug it up?
Yes.
Repositories. In there digging around, found some goodies about the Snapdragon 8cx.
It's one of those things I check, I don't know, every few days or something, because it's been since March. I think that we uncovered the fact that the 8cx, so back up a little bit, Snapdragon has a couple compute platforms. So they've got the 7C and then the 8C. 7C obviously is less powerful. It's the one we've seen in devices like the HP Chromebook 11, X2 11. And then the Gen 2 of that is what's in like the Duet 3, Duet 5. A little bit more capable chip. And then they've officially announced the 7C Plus Gen 3. I don't understand
Max.
Plus.
X.
Yeah, I'm like,
Pro.
What is
it's
this?
a Gen 3.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's the next step. Why is it Plus? I could see Gen 3, and then they do a 7C Plus Gen 3, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe they just skipped it. Maybe they're like, you know what? This isn't good.
The Gen 3 was no
Yeah,
bueno. Let's
skip it.
plus it.
Yeah, there you go.
Whatever.
Let's bump it up a smidge.
So they announced that, I don't know, it's a few months back,
Yeah, it's been a bit.
that they were going to officially bring that to Chromebooks. So we've had those chips. But I've always thought, I remember since we first kind of put two and two together that the 7C was going to show up on a Chromebook, because we thought like the original Snapdragon stuff was like the 848.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It's 848.
What is it? 845.
45. There you go.
Yeah, because they went to 850. I don't know. I've forgotten.
Lose
888, 879er.
888.
Yeah. And so the original Snapdragon on a Chromebook, I remember I was on a cruise and got a message from Gabe that finally in the repositories, this is back in like 2018, there was a hint of a Snapdragon Chromebook. It's like, oh my gosh, it's going to happen. And it just drug on forever. Nothing happened. And then once they announced they were going to make a compute platform in their December thing. I remember watching it. We were in that front office. It was our first year, it was 2019. We were sitting there watching it. They said aloha like 87 times.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And we got to the end of it.
87 times.
Yeah. And they kept saying all this stuff about always on, always connected laptops. And we were like, surely they're going to say, and this is what we're going to do for Chromebooks, because it just everything they were saying made sense for Chromebooks.
Yeah.
And then they didn't say anything about Chromebooks.
No.
But
And it was like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Oh,
we
yeah.
put
Yeah,
some things together and figured out, okay, this thing that we've been seeing, this 7180, SC 7180, I finally found something that tied that name to the 7C.
Yeah.
And made a clear enough case that it's like, yeah, that's what this is. That's what it ended up being. It worked out. It's been murky ever since, because the SC 7280 has been in the works. There's even a fork off of that. But the devices that have come out as Gen 2 Snapdragon are still under the development board 7180, which is the Gen 1. But clearly these are Gen 2 devices. They're faster. They have different cores in them. It's cut and dry. They are different. So maybe the 7280 is like the modification of the platform or whatever. And so it's been a little confusing, and it's not quite as clear cut as the Intel stuff. So rewinding all of that stuff back, I remember at that time thinking, why wouldn't they just make the 8cx as well? Like, let's go ahead and make a Chromebook with that thing, because it was basically the Snapdragon 888. They just announced it, and then the 8cx was this new 8-level computing platform.
Yeah.
And no news came from it. And then in March of this year, I was looking for something else and came across something that led me to something else, and then found a commit for SC 8180X. And I was like, well, that sounds pretty clear and cut, straightforward. You start looking at the comparisons between the 7180 and the 8180, 7C, 8C. It's got an X on the end of it. Those are internal names that they use in the repositories for these chips. It's not, they don't use them too widely, but it's quite clear that's what it is. So that showed up. They're like, hey, we want to make the platform. We're going to start working on it. Silence. Nothing's happened since March.
Which is so weird, because I remember we at CES and Asus, they had the Asus Windows device that had the 8C compute platform.
It was the very first 8C before the 8CX.
Yeah, and I get it. Initially, that's what Qualcomm wanted to do. They wanted to, because that's what Microsoft was wanting to do. They were wanting to do the whole Windows on ARM and lightweight and always connected. but it failed miserably. Then it failed miserably again, and it's like, why is it taking this long?
Like, yeah, why are we just not pulling the plug on that?
I
and
mean,
moving over
it's
here?
clear that Chrome OS was built for this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it does so good on ARM, and I tried to write the article too in a way that's like, I'm not trying to say like this is the best thing and who cares about what's here. Like, I'm saying it's exciting because of what we have right now.
Sure.
Like the ARM space is super interesting right now. Only going to get more interesting. There's more of these 7C devices. Again, I have a leaning. I can't put it together. I can't put my thumb on it and be like, oh, for sure this is what this is. But I really feel like there's some things working in the repositories that point to probably that Gen 3 in the works in some of these devices that are still connected to the original 7C board, which was Trogdor.
Right.
And so, like, Homestar pulled off of that, which was the basic Snapdragon detachable is a Homestar device, basically. I'm sorry, StrongBad. Homestar is the Lenovo Duet 5. StrongBad was the platform for detaching Snapdragon. But there is the HP Chromebook X211, which is a Gen 1 that is Homestar. And then there's the Lenovo, which is also they're off the same board, and so it's like, wait, they're different chips. Like, I don't understand what's going on. And so somehow there's a board called Herobrine, and there's a bunch of little forks off of it. I don't know that those are going to become Chromebooks. I don't know if I have no idea how they do this. I don't know if it's like, here's this platform, and then we do this stuff to tweak it for this other one, and then we just swap the chip out. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, but I have a feeling that there's a couple of them that are probably going to be that Gen 3, which is going to be exciting. I think it's going to be a nice bump. But the 8cx, it'll just be a different level. I think even than the Companion 1380 that's in the Acer Spin 513, and that device is great. I really, really, really like that device. And I'm fine with the Duet 5 and Duet 3.
Sure.
The Snapdragons in those too. I mean, more than enough to do what you need a tablet to do from a productivity standpoint. Like, they're in that realm of like, cool, I'm not too worried about performance.
Right.
Yes, there's going to be problems here and there, but overall, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
The 8cx just it's going to go to a different level. Like, that's a different monster. All your best cores go in those 8cx chips. It's not like you're getting last year's cores or whatever. Like, you're getting the best ARM cores possible. Like, this is going to be as good as ARM's going to get on anything aside from like a MacBook with an M1 or M2 chip in it. So that's exciting to think like what kind of computing power we'll get from that. And like the changes today were they weren't huge. It wasn't like some big massive like, oh my god, this is going to change the world. But it was, the addition of some PCIe slots and paving the way basically for NVMe storage and 5G. And so none of the ARM Chromebooks have NVMe. They all have eMMC. Right. Not a huge deal. Like, it's not one of those things like, oh, that's going to change everything.
No,
but it's just nice.
Yeah, I mean, you look for that when you're looking for a premium laptop. Now, for tablets, keep the eMMC. But people make such a big deal about that, but no one cares. You don't put NVMe in a tablet. I mean,
yeah,
and you could, but
especially eMMC has gotten a lot faster too.
Yeah,
There's specs in the newer eMMCs that are pretty fast. So it's not gonna like revolutionize your workflow or anything.
Right.
But it's cool to see because it's one of those things. Like Abe said, if you're looking for a nice Chromebook, a nice laptop, having NVMe storage in it is a nice perk. And then 5G. We still don't have any 5G Chromebooks, and so it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Qualcomm builds their own modems.
Yep.
They're kind of forefront in 5G and LTE and all that kind of stuff. And so, the idea of these devices coming out with the 8cx being a little bit more premium. I'm testing the Dragonfly right now, for instance. I'm imagining that a little bit thinner with no fans, but the same type stuff, like really nice screen and great keyboard and all that kind of stuff, but just a little slimmer and a little bit more, I don't know, tablety like, a little bit more, Pixelbook like. But having a 12 or 14 hour battery and being super fast and not having fans and being lightweight. And so I think it's going to pave the way for those kind of things. And it's good that they're getting into this. It's probably going to take, I would imagine, looking at the commits right now, unless they can pull a bunch from the Snapdragon platform as a whole from the 7C, they got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
This is not something that's going to show up the end of this year or anything.
Like a CES announcement I could see that.
Yeah.
Hey,
but not a device.
Or-
Like, hey, here's what we're doing in the Chrome
in
OS
December,
space.
they do their summit.
Yeah.
I could see their summit.
Can we go this year?
Saying,
It's Hawaii, right?
we have.
Yeah, I've got a contact now.
Yeah,
That's true.
hit them up.
Yeah.
Because I could see them actually making a Chromebook announcement. Like,
Yeah.
hey, we're pushing into Chromebooks with the 7C and 8C. Expect stuff to come in 2023.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting because I love everything MediaTek's doing right now, and I feel like the Snapdragon efforts have been like dipping a toe in the water. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
And clearly,
That's
and clearly, Qualcomm and the Snapdragon platform have all of the bits and pieces to really lean into this. Like, and if they roll out an 8cx, Chromebook, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, and that's the beauty because like you have all the stuff in Chrome OS that's coming, like Snoop detection, and
Yeah.
maybe they'll do stuff like Face Unlock, like Windows Hello, and all that stuff. Qualcomm's chips have all of that already.
Yeah.
AI,
All built in.
computational
Yep.
stuff, and machine learning. It's all there. There's no extra bits and pieces. It's just a
Right.
matter of, hey, our chips in here. Tell Chrome OS to use our stuff.
But
So-
like MediaTek's out there doing it, and
Yep, sure are.
they're getting feedback, they're getting data.
Yep.
They're getting some experience here.
And they
and
said-
Qualcomm
their
needs
Dimensity
to-
chips are no joke. If they start moving that direction, their
Well,
chips are.
Didn't they say at the summit too, like the 1380, they said, yeah, that's there, but there's a flagship
Yep.
processor
Yes.
in the works.
Yep.
So I will probably see something from them too. I would say in the next 6 months, because they're probably both going to be coming out with like full flagship caliber. Because in the eyes clearly of Acer, they labeled the 513 with a 5.
A 5,
It's
yeah.
not a 7.
Mhm.
It's a 5.
Yep.
So even though it's borderline like 10th gen Core i3 kind of performance, they're not seeing that as flagship.
Yeah.
Which we could go off on a whole nother tangent about some of the ARM stuff that just got announced just this week. The new cores that they put out, the X3 cores are the new big customizable ones, and then you normally have Cortex A78, I think is the latest one. This one had 3 digits at the end. I don't even know what it was. But then they also announced their new integrated GPU as
Right.
well. I don't remember the name of it.
It was.
It's something like really cool sounding.
Yeah, it
though.
was really cool.
If only we had a way. Andy Cam.
I'm getting confused with the
ARM new GPU.
Yeah, I'm getting
ARM
confused with
integrated
the AMD
GPU.
when we were talking about earlier. It's start with an M.
I can see the thumbnail I was looking at. But they said it's based on the Mali GPU that's already in Tensor, for instance. It's
Right.
the one that they've shipped. Because like Snapdragon does Adreno, they do their own GPU with
Right.
ARM. The Mali one is the one that ARM kind of makes. It's the base GPU. It's a huge step up. It's built on that architecture, but it's a big step up with all these cores and ray tracing hardware and all this stuff. It's wild.
Big deal.
The Immortalis G715.
Immortalis.
Yes, there you go.
Sounds awesome.
Immortalis.
Immortalis.
So
Yeah.
So there's all that stuff going on. So all of those new cores that get made and created and are offered up for use in all these different ARM chips, those things will get pulled into Qualcomm named the Snapdragon 8cx and 7C the way that they did. It's the same way they did with the 8 Gen 1. That way they don't have to keep coming up with some new name.
Right.
So if it's an 8cx, it could be whatever generation of 8cx chip. It doesn't matter. So there's a chance they could be waiting and saying, hey, we like these new GPUs and these new cores. We're going to pull in some of those. Or Arduino. No, it's not Arduino. No.
Arduino.
Adreno. Sorry.
Adreno. There you
I was
go.
thinking of that's something else. Adreno GPU, and we're gonna make the latest gen 8cx for Chromebooks. Then they're just laying the foundation for right now to make sure the platform's working, and then they can swap in those different cores. And likewise, MediaTek clearly uses a lot of what ARM produces, so. They've talked about doing NVIDIA GPUs along with the 1380, so maybe there's a bunch of stuff moving and happening and developing in the ARM space. And the thing that was interesting with these new ARM cores is they were putting them up against some sort of 12th gen Intel. Probably was one of the lower ends, probably one of the fanless ones, and it was beating them.
I mean, the
cores
12th gen, even the fanless ones, they're not Y series anymore, but even those are monsters. So that's amazing.
They're beating in certain benchmarks. These new cores from ARM are going up against actual flagship Intel chips, and so it's an interesting time because, in our minds, if we say a flagship Chromebook, it just needs to be good enough. But if they're looking at it going, no, we want flagship, like you're picking Intel or you're picking MediaTek or you're picking Snapdragon, we're not talking about like, oh, it's good for an ARM chip. Like, no, it's there or better.
And that's awesome because in 10 years, we've never looked at ARM and thought, oh, flagship Chromebook. You've never gone out to look for a premium Chromebook and even given ARM a second thought.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not a thing.
And we can argue that the 1380 could be in that realm.
Yeah.
But to say flagship, especially now with 12th gen Intel chips, it's like,
yeah, because, I mean, you can argue the other way that there are i3 devices out there that aren't quite what I would call premium, like what Lenovo's done with the Flex 5. Great device,
right?
But it's budget friendly and it knocks some of the corners off, so you lose a little bit. It's super powerful, but it's not what I call a flagship,
right?
So
not anymore.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how all this shakes out over the next few months. I think there's going to be some cool stuff announced between now and I don't know, January, February, between CES and these summits that these companies have and stuff.
All right, that's it for this week, folks. We appreciate you all tuning in and listening and watching. If you are watching, make sure to give us a thumbs up if you like this. Click subscribe and click the little notification bell. We'll catch you all next week. See ya.